Good morning, everyone. This is Barbara from the SmartMLS team, and with us today is Brent Robbins. He is the co-founder for Greenlight. Greenlight's the vendor that provides us with the SmartMLS stats tool that he's going to be reviewing with us today. I wanted to point out that the SmartMLS stats tool is not found on the dashboard that you, with the tiles on the dashboard that you come up against when you log into the system. Instead, it's available in the resource widget on the Connect MLS dashboard. As an option, SmartMLS stats. There also is a reports menu that you'll find at the top of the Connect MLS screen where you go to search and look at your clients and your prospecting. So the reports menu has a drop-down menu, and in there also is access to SmartMLS stats. So that's where you'll find that information. So going back to Brent, he's going to lead us through the session today. We'll turn it over to you, and you can show us what's there.
That sounds wonderful. Good morning to everybody. Thanks for joining in. Name is Brent, and thanks, Barbara, for the introduction. This should be a fun session today. I think we'll probably aim for about 40 minutes on everything. Got a couple different things we'll be covering. I'm going to kind of lay all those out here in a second before we get started. Hopefully you guys have been in the Smart MLS Stats platform already. If you have not, it's a really neat system. Essentially, the idea is that we're taking real-time data from across the state of Connecticut and really trying to just organize it and package it up and deliver it to you guys in a way that makes it really, really easy to kind of wrap your head around all of it. There's just so much amazing data that is inside the MLS system that you guys have accumulated over the years. And I just think it's really exciting to be able to get creative, really think about what it means to be a real estate professional right now, what your needs are with your clients, and figure out how to serve that data up to you in a nice, easy, actionable way. So today we're going to dive into exactly that. I'm going to show you a real quick kind of overview of the whole system right here. And so yesterday we had a really nice session that was all about knowing your market, which is kind of the basic thing that we think about when we think about stats. What are the metrics we want to look at? What is going on? What does it mean? All of that stuff. Something that hopefully all of you guys can do on a weekly and monthly basis. And so, to recap that, just so you know, it's all of the stuff on the top up here. So all of this is really knowing your market and that concept. But what we're going to dive into today are these two kind of additional ways that we can start thinking about, information, data, numbers, kind of projecting them in a nice, easy way for clients to make it usable. And the main thing we'll start off right here is this idea of leveraging data within your transaction. And so, as you guys know, as you're out there, kind of taking a client from the very beginning stage of, just getting to know them, talking a little bit about the market, maybe looking at pricing the property, and then kind of going through those stages of listing the property, making decisions along the way. The idea is that we want to give you more and more tools to be able to assist in those little moments in the transaction. And I think that when that is done, not only can it help to, set expectations and make decisions, like, for example, do we want to do a price drop, how much, when, all of these kind of things. But I think it just overall makes the experience for the client a whole lot better because it shows that you've done your homework. So if there's one thing you can take away from this session, it's really just kind of gathering maybe one or two of these dashboards that we're going to go into and incorporating it into each of your transactions. So we're going to jump into this in a quick second with a real live example. And when we're done that, we're going to kind of have a second part of this session today which is going to jump over to this idea of using the data to kind of sift through the market, slice and dice up the market, and really find opportunities that are out there. And this might be hot spots for a seller. This might be hot spots for being a buyer. And really being able to take that information and share that with prospective clients in order to kind of showcase your expertise. So without further ado, we will go ahead and hop into the leveraging data within your transaction. And in order to do this, I am going to focus on this part of the data tools right here. So if you guys are, jotting notes, dashboards is the section that we're going to go into. And I am going to basically use an example here to kind of go through these different stages of the transaction. And we're going to look at a property here. It's actually already listed. So it's not pre-market or anything like that, but it is a good example. It's in Bridgeport, 06600, and it's a 1,600 square foot house, really nice looking, kind of well kept property here. And so we're going to go into dashboards, and we're going to use this example to kind of go through the different stages of the transaction. And again, there's not a specific formula to this. You don't have to use every single thing that I'm going to show you in here. But my hope is that you can maybe jot a couple notes about a few things that resonate with you and maybe incorporate them. And so each dashboard that I'm looking at, you're going to see on the left-hand side highlighted in blue exactly which dashboard that is. And then you can go back in, maybe after the call and explore it. So starting off, you'll notice here on this page, we've kind of already gone into Bridgeport, into our zip code, and narrowed this down looking at single family properties. This for you guys, if anybody feels strongly about needing other filters added to this, we've got high school zone in here. We can add more into this, and I'd encourage you when you get in just to send a message to the support channel if there's something that you think would be more helpful that would be added. But this is what we're looking at right now. We've defined the territory, and we've started here kind of at the initial stage, and we're going to take this all the way down through the closing of the property. The initial stage in many times involves giving your client just kind of an initial test, kind of overview of the market. And so this overview page is a really good starting point to do that, just to kind of introduce this area to your client. And I really like this because it just kind of gives us the talking points at a high level about what is going on. And so, for example, here I can very quickly say that, hey, there's a clear kind of progression that, new listings into the market have gone down thus far into 2025. So there's not as much activity out there. But the good news is that we're seeing a whole lot of sale activity that is taking place. Prices are overall up year to date and, month over month from January, probably about 12%. And, the flip side is with, prices so high in this area, we're starting to see actually a little bit of a slowdown in the frenziness, the craziness of the demand. So you're seeing properties close a little bit slower. You're seeing the bidding go a little bit lower versus the asking price. But overall, this is just a good place to start off with. And this is definitely something that I might want to grab, kind of like this, and either show it live in a presentation or just kind of grab this and use it as a talking point. So once we've kind of introduced this little market and kind of maybe talked about a few of the trends that we're seeing, typically the next thing we want to do is go in and just start talking about pricing a little bit. And you guys are going to obviously have your CMA that you're going to do and get really in the weeds with that. I find that in order to introduce the concept of pricing, it's really nice to just kind of put in perspective, where the market is in this area. And so price per square foot is a great place to start. We can see that last month. 283 was kind of this average across all of these sales that occurred last month. And you can see that translates down to here in January. And this gives us just a real nice, easy to understand picture that shows a client that, hey, we're seeing things up $30 per square foot from last year and 50 from the year before in January. So, going into this, wintertime months, if we're thinking about listing in potentially March, you can see that there's a clear kind of trend of really upward motion of the prices. Now, the question from here, usually I like to parlay into this idea of, okay, where does my house sit? And you'll notice that we've kind of got a basic idea of the quality of this home just by looking at the kitchen and everything like that. And so I would kind of, if I was talking my client through here, I would sort of start to think about where I might fall in this spectrum. So obviously the fixer-uppers are going to be down here. The super luxury properties are going to be up here. I would suggest that somewhere in this $250 to $300 range is probably a really good range to look at for our property. And so I'm going to take this number and I'm actually going to go to the next screen here. And this is a screen that is very simple. This is not designed to be incredibly detailed. We do have another version of this that is, but I love this screen because it allows us to communicate pricing in a way that is understandable for a client. And so what we can do is kind of go through and take that price per square foot that we sort of saw in the last screen, and we can add it to all of the properties that are selling in this area. And in this case, we have that set to the last 60 days, which you guys can adjust if you want. And you can see this clear line. And so if I'm a consumer or a seller and I'm looking through this and I'm trying to grapple with, what is my house worth? I'm seeing these comps out there in the market. This is a nice, easy way for me to start to wrap my head around that. And so you'll remember that that property was 1,600 square feet. And so if I look over here, I can actually kind of hone down into, whoops, let's reset that, that 1,600 square foot area. And this gives us a nice, big, easy kind of vantage point that we can start to talk through. And so you can see here that that property, if it sort of follows those, it's probably going to end up being in this range. You might want to talk through some of these other properties and sort of how the property compares. But if it is, you can see that the property would likely fall in this kind of right over $400,000 range. So, when we translate that back to, what this actual, I don't know if this is one of your guys' listings, it probably isn't, but, this agent came up with a 419 price, which is actually right in line with kind of what this tool is sort of suggesting. So there we are. We've kind of gone through, just to recap, in these phases, we've gone through the initial, what is going on with the market, what's going on with prices, where might my, property be. Again, we can grab any one of these if we think they're useful to incorporate. And now we're going to kind of move forward and start thinking about listing the property, right? And so if I'm getting ready to list the property, my first question is, what's the landscape out there? What other properties are listed? Are there any gaps in the market that we might be filling? All of that. And so I think this page does a really nice job of showing us all of these active listings that are currently on the market. Okay. And so you can weave this into your story however you want, but remember, our property is going to be right here in this range, and it's likely going to kind of fill this void right in here. In fact, one of these might be the property. And the good news about that is there's not a whole lot of competition right out there. We've got a lot up here in this $500,000 range. But if you are a $400,000 buyer out there looking through Zillow or whatever, we're going to go into the market with not a whole lot of competition. And so I love kind of framing the whole thing that way. And you'll notice here, we don't have to get into the price dropping side of things quite yet, but you will notice that some of these properties in kind of the higher price per square foot, they're red. And so they have been on the market a little longer and they have done a price drop. But we're not going to deal with that right now. We're going to look at listing this property, and we're going to wait until we talk about price drops. But if we do want to do that, we might come back to this. So we've looked at the market. We're getting ready to come to the market. Again, we want to introduce little nuggets of data, right, at all of these stages to showcase how much of an expert we are. And so I really love this one right here, which, again, you may not follow the which day to list suggestion in this particular graph. But what it does do is it's gets a good reaction normally from most sellers, and it shows that you have done some homework and that you are data driven in your approach. And that goes a long way. And so what is this saying right here? So we're asking the system, hey, we're getting ready to list. What is the best day to list? And we're looking at all these days of the week, and we see all of these listed properties. So most people are listing on a Friday and a Thursday. But strangely enough, over the past 2 years of data, the ones that are listed on a Monday, and I don't know why this is, but they are closing 1.5% higher above asking than any of these other days. And so that's just something interesting to note. Maybe you want to list the property in this area on a Monday. Every area has different kind of behaviors. Some people go out and they start looking at properties on a Friday, and if you list on a Friday, you're going to pop up at the top. Other people do their searching during the day. I don't know the demographic of this area, but I do know that this is a really cool thing to do. So I would probably very much take a little screenshot of this and maybe text it over to my client. I think that's really cool. Okay. So we have decided to list the property. We've picked the day that we want to list. We're going to move on to that next stage, and we're going to assume that we have our property listed. And so now, as you guys know, there's this sort of like song and dance where we're kind of watching things. We're watching the market. We're communicating with our client. Maybe a couple weeks go by and we don't get a whole lot of offers. Okay. And you've got to sort of calm the situation and sort of set expectations. So hopefully you guys have all experienced that. I think that happens quite frequently. And one of the things that you want to do is tell your client, we're totally fine. We've only been listed for 18 days. This is completely normal. And a nice visual like this is a great way for us to sort of communicate that. And so what is this doing? This is basically taking all of these properties in the area, and it's looking property by property at how long it took for them to get an offer. And it's telling us at this median right here that the median offer is 32 days. So if we are under this mark, it's totally normal to still be on the market, and we don't have to freak out or anything. And even if we surpass that level at 32 days, because all different properties and areas are different, we're still seeing a lot of deals that happen up here, with properties that were on the market for 100 days. So, if you're looking to communicate this to your client, this is a really nice way to sort of ease that part of the waiting game, right? And show them that things are A-okay. Now, another cool thing to do with this, you don't have to do this if you don't want, but I really like how within a presentation, I can sort of look at this area and make a few comments about what parts of this area are closing faster, right? And this does a great job of setting expectations. So these smaller dots you can see in here are typically closing faster. Now, I'll remind you that this property is down here by the water. And so, just to set expectations, a lot of these, and actually, you know what, I'm going to actually adjust this real quick. I want to go back and take this out to maybe like 400 days or something. So just we have a little bit more data to look at with this. But what it's going to show is basically just in your area, right along the water right there. I've got a little bit of a slow reaction here being on the thing. But what it shows you is basically that there's a lot of properties that are closing 100 days down near that water. They're going to have bigger uh, circles right there. And so that might just be something that you want to incorporate. Sorry about the delay right there. Sometimes when I get on calls, it does that. But there it is. So yeah, these guys are closing 173 days, 107, 108. 45. So these are a little bit longer than that 32 that we saw previously. So, that's just another thing to add a little bit of color into your conversation. Okay. So we have listed the property. We are sitting on the market. We are waiting on the market. We are talking to our client about expectations. We are kind of keeping everything kind of calm and in a good place. And we may come to the point where we need to consider the idea of a price reduction. Okay. So you guys all know this conversation with the client. It's not always the easiest conversation to have, but it is sometimes something that's fairly normal and it does help to get the deal done. And my philosophy is whenever there is an awkward conversation with a client, I think that bringing data to the table is always going to help you come out looking great in that conversation, even if they're doing something that they don't want to do. And so on a price drop conversation, this is a nice slide that you can use. Walk your client through it. What does it tell us? It tells us that of the 24 active listings, 6 of them have dropped their price. So it's explaining that this is a very common occurrence. If they buy into that idea, we can see that the median price drop has been about $16,000. So we can see here that percentage on each of those deals that have also dropped their price. This is just to make sure that we're kind of in line with the market. And we can see when they did it too. And so most of these decided to drop their price 71, 33, 43 days, etc. So this can also help the client to feel like they're not acting out of the ordinary and that they're doing something that's totally normal for this market. And then the final thing that this dashboard will show us is a little bit of, light in the tunnel, which is, hey, if you drop your price, most of the properties that have done that have received a contract normally about 32 days. And you can see that when I hover over there, I've got this average 32 days. So this is basically just showing that price drops do work and what the outcome of that is. And again, all of this just shows that you are indeed sort of acting within the norms and understand the data, which is a good thing. Cool. So the final stage here, we have now dropped our price, we have put it on the market, and we have gotten an offer that has come in. And the client receives the offer. They say, hey, Greg, hey, John, hey, Mary, is this a good offer? What do you think we should do with it? Obviously, this is up to them. They're going to decide what they want to do. But the best thing you can do is obviously just give them a little bit of data to support that. And again, you don't have to do that if you don't want, but I think this is a really nice way for us to say, hey, here's what's happened in other similar situations. So what I would do here, and again, this is just looking at winning offers that have come through. And you can see you've got property by property, sale by sale. You've got your asking price right here. You've got all the properties that went above asking, and you've got the properties that went below asking. And so in this case, we got an offer that came in, let's say, 80 days. And so what I want to do is come up here and I want to actually look at offers that came in, say, from 60 to 120 days on the market. And I want to look at what happened in those. And we did a price drop. So I'm going to come over here and actually look at all of the similar sales that did a price drop. And now I've got a little nugget of data that I can share with a client. And that offer that came in was 2% under asking, let's say. And I can come over here and say, okay, well, similar offers, at least in this area over the past, 6 months or whatever, that had been on the market for a similar time and at a price drop, they closed at 3% under asking. These are the sales. And so this is revealing sort of a market norm for that client. And the moral of the story is that that 2% under asking actually looks quite attractive in this capacity. So, you may use this to share the data, make a suggestion that perhaps we go with it. Again, your client's going to let you know what they want to do with that. But this at least shows you that you have done your homework. So that right there was a little bit of a long-winded kind of storyline of, again, how we might use data to start at the very beginning stages and go all the way up to the closing using the dashboards tool. Again, just to recap. So I would encourage you guys to go in and utilize that tool and maybe find a couple of those dashboards that you can use. I did mention very briefly the idea that some of those were sort of kind of abbreviated versions, right? They were kind of big, colorful, simple versions. And one of those was the home values. So I want to point out real quick that there is also a CMA tool on here that I'm just going to show you real quick in case you wanted to get a little bit more detailed. And so remember, we were looking at this one, which is a regression analysis for any of you guys who kind of geek out on that stuff. And it's super simple. But if you wanted to kind of get more in the weeds with this, that CMA tool that I just showed you, it's just a little bit more detailed and it looks a little something like this. But I really love this. It doesn't have photos in it quite yet, but it does allow you to kind of get a little more detailed with your comp set, introduce the range in terms of the total price, the range in terms of the price per square foot and the quality, and produce this really nice looking regression analysis of all of your sales and this little line, which is the kind of average property. And so this is just another way, if you want to introduce this into the conversation, where you can say, hey, following this kind of market at 1,600 square feet, it's going to put us right here at about 415. And so just wanted to point that out, that if you wanted to get a little more detailed, this tool also kind of gets into making adjustments and some other types of questions. Yeah, so just pointing that out right there. All right. So we're at 10:30. We've got about 10 minutes left in the call. I'm going to really quickly look at the chat and just kind of answer a couple of these questions. And then we're going to go into the final kind of finding opportunities section. Does it work with multifamily? Not right now. It does not. We have not built that out. We potentially could. We have to look at the data, but that's the answer on that. The stats are set up for, okay, somebody answered that. I'm sorry.
Hey, Brett,
Yeah.
Barbara here. Just two questions that I kind of saw repeating. Can
Yeah.
you just show how you can do a quick download or print to PDF on one of the reports? And then
Sure.
also, you also showed how you can kind of grab an image,
Right.
right click, that people are interested in that.
Yes.
And yeah, I think
Yes.
that's a good point to pick out.
Of course. I'm going to show you that real quick. Okay, so we are in the tool right here, and there's a little download button right here where it allows you to open up and either export all of the pages of your presentation or select the one you want. So I might just want to take this best data list one and hit download, and that is going to export this entire dashboard into a PDF that I can use. The second part of that is the screen grab, which, to be honest, I'm a bigger fan of that. I like communicating in small chunks, and I don't necessarily need a big PDF with lots of different pages. I just want to grab little things and use them. And so you'll notice that I did this thing over here where I just sort of went over here and I grabbed something. And so that's called a snippet. And if you guys don't know how to do that, you probably do. This is just a great little trick that you can use. If you're on a PC, there's this tool called the snipping tool. You can just open up and hit new and you can do it. If you're on a Mac like me, what you want to do is do this. Okay, so here's your little screen grab, and you hit Command, Shift, and 4. And that's going to create a file out of that. And now sometimes I hit control in there too, and that just copies the whole thing and pastes it. But you can't see my hand, but I'm gonna do that real quick, and I'm gonna show you how I can just grab this and I can go over to my text messages here, and I can just hit Command V and just pop it in, and I can send it over to a client and maybe add a little note or something. So I like doing it that way. So anyway, that's just the recap, and you can Google it if you need help on remembering exactly how to do that.
Here's another question, Brent, that I think
Yeah.
will be helpful. Is it possible to see averages in addition to median for the data provided?
Averages in addition to median. I'm trying to remember um, where on. Oh, I see that right there. Yes. We That's one of the places we can add average in there if that's something that folks would like. I also see it up here, so average can certainly be added. Um, in the market reports, I'm sure you guys have been into the market reports. You can toggle between average and median in all of the graphs. So that has been incorporated in the market reports. These dashboards, there might be spots here where we're missing that, but oh, here's average, I think. Yeah, but we can add that. Yes, that's something we can add today. Okay. So we have a couple minutes left, so I want to give you guys a couple more little valuable items that you can take with you. We went through the leveraging data within your transaction, which is great. I want to show you guys this idea of finding and sharing opportunities. And the way that I think about this is, we're constantly out there trying to be in front of our sphere of influence. We're trying to give them little insights of information that are useful and actionable and reveal us as an expert. And so what this does, I think, is it provides a little bit more of a laser sharp focus in exactly what we should be talking about when it comes down to our markets. And so I'm going to show you this report. It's called the comparison reports. It's available right here. And what it does is it basically is going to slice and dice up our market. I'm going to put it in full screen. And it's going to give us these little hot spots and hot zones that we might want to take out there and bring to our sphere of influence. We may want to screen grab them and send them to people that we know that are in the Weston city and tell them that it is the best sellers market out there right now. We want to take this information and we want to use it to try to reveal opportunities that are happening now in this moment across our area. So I'm going to give you just a couple examples of that, and I'd encourage you to kind of take that thinking and maybe go into this tool and kind of grab it into your marketing materials or your communication. So I am right here just on this one page. It's the last page called Months of Supply. And so I'm looking at Fairfield County here. And basically what I've done is I've calculated months of supply for all of the cities in Fairfield County. And I think this is a fascinating chart. It is live, it is real time, it is literally taking the actives that are on the market as we speak today. And it's running that calculation about the amount of sales that happened last month in order to arrive at a months of supply, which you guys probably speak about quite frequently, perhaps at a high level or a conceptual level. But what this does is actually looks at it area by area. And so the takeaway from this, and we spell it out right here, is that these ones on the top, like Weston and Trumbull and Brookfield, they need more inventory. If you are a seller in your sphere of influence right now, and you may be able to go into Follow Up Boss or one of your CRMs and search through all of your prospects in Weston or Trumbull, this would be a great thing to send them with just a little note, just saying, across all of Fairfield County, I just want to let you know that this month, there is a tremendous demand out there and a shortage of properties like yours. And so I think that does a great job of sort of showing you first and foremost as a expert, but also sort of coaxing out certain dormant clients from your CRM and inviting them that there is an urgent moment where they will receive good, favorable circumstances from the market. And so I wanted to point that out. This can be also, done on a buyer's side, communication, because these guys down here right now, it is a buyer's market. There is a lot of stuff on the market, and there's not a lot of activity going on. And so, if you guys are working with buyers, same thing. Go into your database, find those that are maybe looking in Greenwich or whatever, and explain that they've got a really good moment right now. So, if you like this kind of way of thinking, which again just gives a little bit more of a method to the madness in terms of your marketing and your outreach and the stuff you're putting out there, there's a lot of different things in here that you can use. You might have noticed that I took one of these heat maps, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I popped it into a text message. I think I went into Fairfield, and I remember when we were getting ready to sell our house, and our agent would reach out with us from time to time, and a lot of times it wasn't really anything of value. But something like this, I would have loved to have received, which is hey, Brent, we haven't talked in a while, but I just wanted to let you know that where you are right now, down here in this kind of coastal southeast area of Fairfield, is the fastest selling market right now. And so again, I can screen grab that, and you can see here that I sort of added that into a little text message. I put a little note in there. And so it gives me a little bit of a method. Back when I was in sales, in real estate data and all of this stuff, there was a thing called a value touch, which was always really interesting. It was a little touch of my client with a little nugget of value. And so I think that this tool provides a lot of the content for those sort of value touches. Last thing I'll sort of pull out here is this zip code table. And so this is also a way of kind of stacking up all of the areas. We can do this with price ranges. We can do this with zip codes, cities, whatever we want. And basically looking at where the hot zones are, where the hot spots are. And you could decide how you want to do this. But I want to look at the last 90 days here, and I'm going to compare that to the previous year so you can see this. And then I've got all these metrics of different things like buyer demand and pricing. And so, like for example, if I want to say who is getting the most bidding right now, because I want to reach out into my book of business and I want to let people know that in this zip code, the 06854 zip code, in the last 90 days, it is hot. There is 5% over asking, and that has gone up 2.6% from the same time period the year before. Like, if this is not actionable data that should be revealed to the right people in your database, I don't know what is. This is just a really good piece of information. So again, this is the tool, very kind of introductory kind of look into it. That is going to help you in finding opportunities and sharing them. And again, just to know where you find it, which is right there. All right. Barbara, we're at the 10:40 kind of target time. Anything else you think we should cover before wrapping up? I can take a look at the chat here.
One additional question. Someone was asking about, a lot of the reports are by county. Can you do a report of cities across counties? What's the best way to grab that information?
Yeah, so the comparison report right here. There's two sections here that deal with cities. And so, the first one, I am obviously in Fairfield right here. And this is really just a dashboard for looking at cities over time. So, you see here, I've kind of compared, I think, Stanford, Bridgeport, and Norwalk. I can kind of, look over time at some different metrics. Here I can kind of talk about the slowdown in terms of days on market. I can even take these cities, and I really like this one. You've got Darien, which is the most favorable seller's market right now. Over the last 33 sales, it is the lowest DOM and the highest average. And then on the other end, we've got Sherman, which, not so much. So yeah, this is the cities section if you want to play around with that, and it has the table format as well too. One more thing I'll just point out real quick, the migration reports. I think we talked about maybe showing that real quick. If you guys haven't checked this out, this is a really neat report. I just wanted to plug it real quick. Basically talks about that data field that you guys have about where sellers are coming from and where buyers are moving. So if you guys are interested to know that, I just wanted to plug that real quick. We've got some really neat stuff in here that kind of show you how people are moving around the northeastern United States, where they're coming from, all of that. So yeah, just final little plug on that. But other than that, yeah, we'll wrap up. I want to thank everybody for joining in. Hopefully you got a few things out of it, and feel free to reach out through the support channels if there's anything we can help with. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
All right, bye bye now.
Bye, Brent.